So now for the second stage, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, chanting on beads. We don't have to chant on beads, but it helps. All of our teachers, right going back, Lord Chaitanya and before, they've all chanted on beads. And especially when we actually take initiation, we take a vow, we make a promise that we'll chant a minimum number of rounds on beads. Now that's not essential at the beginning, there's no need to get worried about that. But so chanting on beads, it's an important aspect of chanting Hare Krishna, and I'm just going to show you something about this. This is my set of beads. You can see this bead is larger than this bead. So traditionally the beads are like a cow's tail. It's thicker at the top and thinner at the bottom. And we start chanting on the big bead. This is called the head bead. This is Radha Krishna. And then we have 108 beads on this string. 108 is a very wonderful number. It's 1 times 1 times 2 times 2. No, 1 squared times 2 squared times 3 squared. There's 108 principal Upanishads, there's 108 beads on the string, and there's 108 principal gopis also. So our beads actually represent Radha and Krishna, this is Radha and Krishna, and 108 principal gopis. And then you can see that there's a thread here, and these are the 8 principal gopis. How do we chant on the beads? We use the thumb and middle finger, and for each bead, one mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pull the beads towards us. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's until we come right round to the far end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's it's called one round. We don't cross over this head bead, Radha Krishna. We turn the beads round with our hands, and then we go back the other way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These beads, these particular beads, are made of tulsi. Tulsi is a sacred plant. It grows especially in India and in many other places as well. Tulsi is very, very sacred to Radha and Krishna. They love tulsi. Actually, there's a special personality, their very, very close and dear friend in Vrindavan called Vrinda. Vrindavan means the forest of Vrinda. And Vrinda appears in this world as Tulsi. So it's very helpful to chant on Tulsi beads. And after initiation, we chant on Tulsi beads. There's an upside and a downside though. Because Tulsi, if we're chanting inattentively or with other desires, those impressions stick on Tulsi beads. So when we start off chanting, it's better to use some other beads. Like for example, there's another tree called Neem, and we often chant on Neem beads before we actually start chanting seriously. You can imagine that it's not really very convenient to be carrying loose beads around with you all the time. So what's the solution? The solution is bead bag. So now the beads are going into the bead bag. Here, a large hole here to put the hand in, and a small hole here to stick this finger out. Why do we stick this finger out? Because this is the finger for cursing and pointing angrily, so we keep it separate from the beads. That's a Vaishnava tradition. So we're chanting, now as I explained before, chant exactly the same way but inside the bead bag. Now comes the question, supposing I'm counting how many rounds have I chanted already? So here we have some very effective technology, counter beads. We chant, and every time that we chant one round, pull one of these down. Chant another round, pull another one down, and so on. Traditionally, we have a string of 16 here. Why 16? Because 16 is like another magic number. It's in some organizations, it's like the daily personal minimum, chanting 16 rounds a day. Don't worry about that at the moment. I'm just explaining why we have 16 beads on the counter beads. And then 4 here. What's that for? Well, supposing somebody chants 16 and wants to go on further, chant more. So they can put one down there And then again, they'll use these beads and start 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this way, as the practitioner becomes more and more mature in their practice, they can get up to 16, 32, 48, and 64 is a desirable number of rounds to chant for somebody who's really, really seriously practicing Bhakti Yoga. 64 rounds. Don't worry about that at the moment. Let's start at the beginning. How are we going to chant? What about counting? The best thing is to have a daily minimum. Once you want to start chanting seriously, have a daily minimum. Like for example, you might say, okay, I'm going to chant 1 round a day, definitely. I might chant more, but I'm not going to chant less. And then when you feel comfortable with that, 2, and then maybe 3 or 4. Sometimes in the beginning, when we start chanting, the tongue gets tied and the fingers are aching and the mind's running around all over the place. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Gradually, we settle down and it becomes very, very comfortable. So chant, if you want to seriously chant and count, make a personal minimum every day. As I say, 1 or 2 or 4 or 8 or whatever's comfortable, whatever's convenient. Keep to that, don't go below it, and then when you're really comfortable with that daily minimum, increase. Like for example, if you started with 4, increase to 5 or 6. Continue like that, and then when you're really comfortable with that, then again you can increase.